impersonalized? Is that how we see the world? Is it personal or is it impersonal? I'd like to know what people think. My experience is that it's gotten very impersonal. I think because there's so much out there, and really you could do anything that you want.
Mhm.
I really believe because of that, things have gotten impersonal because of digitalization, artificial intelligence. Do we take the time and the care to make sure that we treat people, each other personally, regardless of what the situation is? And many of you know me. I'm Teresa Palmer. I'm a holistic cardiology nurse practitioner. I've been guest hosting the Monday and Tuesday programs on the Own It platform. And I have my panel with me. And it's my usual panel, which is good because we're able then to really develop these relationships and these conversations as we go along. And with that, I will have each person introduce themselves and tell us, is it impersonal out there or is it personal? Nathaniel, we'll start with you.
I am Nathaniel Ross from Abundance Legacy Inc., nonprofit personal and professional growth nonprofit organization. And thanks for having me back on the show. Do you want me to go ahead and answer that question?
Yep, you could go ahead and answer it.
Well, I sit and I listen, and I think the world in general is becoming more impersonal. There's less human contact or contact with each other. But I think a lot of it has to do with the dumbing down of society, that we are not teaching the social skills that we were forced to learn when we were growing up. You learned, these were standard things that you learned, and they systematically have been eliminated from school curriculums. They've systematically been eliminated from social behavior in the communities. So therefore, you have less and less communication and less people understanding the importance of communication, and more of automation, that people rather play video games and interact online through texting. And you can see that with families. If you sit in a restaurant, you watch families there, nobody's talking. They're all on their phone, their devices. You can even see people that are sitting together, the kids send messages to each other as opposed to talk to each other, and they're sitting right next to each other. So I think it's a combination of things that's happening to make us, as a society, communicate less and less, and the human factor is just slowly dissipating. But as with all things, I think something's going to happen that's going to make the pendulum swing back the other way.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there has to be a balance. And I think right now the balance is off because it's swinging in the way of digitalization. I've had that experience. I went to a party with a while back with a group of people that I had worked with. And we were sitting at the table and there was somebody right next to me. And all of a sudden I get a text on my phone and I could see it on my Apple Watch. And it was from her. And I said to her, I said, "You're sitting right next to me." She said, "Well, it's just easier for me to text." I couldn't believe it. I just really couldn't believe it. And the text was a little chunk. I mean, she could have easily said what she had to say. But, I thought to myself, I said, "Well, since you're sitting next to me, I'll just answer you personally." And she said, "Oh, that's okay. If you want to text or you want to talk, either one is fine with me. I'm just used to texting because it's so much easier just to look at my phone than it is to talk to somebody." Oh, my goodness. And with that, I'll go on to Jacqueline.
Great day, everyone. Thank you This is a great, great conversation. I'm Jacqueline Brown, and this ties right into one of the core things that I work with folks on, and that is sovereign leadership. I am a sovereign leadership architect and help people to really look at leadership from a totally different perspective, bringing in a paradigm shift from what we typically see in leadership today. And the lane that we operate in is really so much bigger when we look at where we are in the digital world. Relationships, relationships online. In the digital world, relationships aren't really failing because of the technology and because technology exists. They're failing because many people have not developed the inner capacity to communicate, discern, to even regulate themselves, as Teresa was giving that example, and to relate with one another with integrity as the world has evolved into this digital footprint. Digital environments, what they really reveal the condition of the human mind. They reveal the condition of emotional maturity, or I should say, emotional immaturity. They're revealing leadership and what is at the core of an individual's leadership. And it's really around relational integrity. That's what this is really bringing out. So I believe we've had some really major issues within humanity, and the digital platforms have just given that ability for these things to just show up and to manifest themselves, such as not communicating, lack of integrity when it comes to communication, and really lack of respect. Um, as a baby boomer, people can never accuse me of being out of touch with technology. Oh, well, you're just not getting with the technology. Well, I retired in technology and it hasn't been that many years. And I was in technology for 40 plus years at the C-suite level, leading innovation teams. So I'm all about growth. I'm all about technology and how it can help us. But I think the level of maturity that is needed, mainly in leadership, is how do we keep the human? We have to keep the human aspect of technology. And as we grow with technology, we cannot lose the very essence of who we are as human beings. So I think some of the tools have not necessarily created the relational dysfunction. I think it's exposed what probably people were just sort of forcing themselves and doing it because they had to do it, versus now they have this way that they can draw back and say no, I'm just going to send a message, or I'm not going to respect you enough that you're giving me your time to be on a platform, whatever that platform is. I'm not going to give the respect that I should have a conversation with you ahead of time. I should get to know you. Not knowing, people are still using the phrase, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. Well, how are you going to like, know, and trust if we're hiding behind the technology? And sometimes it's a hiding. But these flaws, Teresa, I truly believe that some of these flaws were immaturity to begin with. And this technology has allowed people just to go and hide deeper versus elevate.
I agree with you. And I think you hit on a most important thing, and that's respect.
Yes.
Now, there's a lack of respect, and you see it in everything. It's not just one or two things. You see it globally, that there's just a lack of respect for people, for things, for anything. There's a lack of respect. And when you lose that respect, you lose everything. People think that sometimes people will say to me, I belong to a pickleball group. Okay. It's a group. It's got a group chat. And yet people will not respond. Well, to me, if you can't respond, number one, you're not interested. Number two, you don't respect the group enough. And number three, you should be out of it. Unless you could say to somebody, this is what's going on. I'd like to be part of it, but I could participate once a month or whatever. That is showing respect. But just not to respond or give an answer like, oh, there's chatter in the group. Well, of course there is. That's why it's a group. You wouldn't need the group if you didn't have to communicate with people ahead of time. So, it's that whole, well, I don't have to do this or I don't have to do that. Or, we see it a lot, just a total lack of respect with everything that goes on. I know someone who someone in her family died, and she was told via text.
Wow.
She got sent a text.
Wow.
I mean, how is that? And she was devastated, but she said nobody in her family understood. They thought that it was perfectly okay because they needed to tell her that somebody died. And that's how they were going to tell her. I mean, that's horrible. But that's what I don't know if we've become it or if we always were it, but we hid it so much better. I tend to think that we hid it because society didn't allow it. If somebody asked you a question, you had to answer it. If you wanted a job, you had to go through creating a resume or a CV. You had to go through a cover letter. You had to go through the whole process, and you had to be respectful and polite about it. Nowadays, you don't have to be. Anything goes. And sometimes you could pay also for anything that you want without doing the work that, and I'm going to say, should be involved in whatever that is, that too shows a lack of respect, and it creates a lack of respect. Because if money could just buy me something, then why should I have to do the work, and why should I respect that when I get it? Because it doesn't mean anything because I didn't have to earn it. I just simply had to write you a check. Well, nowadays you just use your credit card, but all I have to do is use my credit card, and boom, I've got what you're offering, and I didn't have to do anything to earn that. And there's no respect if you don't earn something. And with that, let's go to Dr. D.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. D. I'm also a pastor. I'm the CEO of 3-in-1 Ministries and Genesis Innovations. This definitely is a very interesting topic. I will tell you first off, I am a dinosaur. I like it the old way. I want to call you on the phone. I want to see your face. And so that's what I do. And I think, honestly, the digitalization of our community, our country, our culture has really stagnated relationships. It's hindered our communication skills, and it definitely has hindered our nonverbal communication skills. I often tell my teachers, and they would just look at me with this weird look on their face. They would send me an email, and next thing they know, during their planning period, I pop up at their office. And they was like, well, I sent you an email. I said, I know. That's why I'm here. And they're like, well, why didn't you respond to my email? And you know me, I said, I just wanted to behold your beautiful face. I want to have a conversation with you. I tell people, if you don't want your email, and this was a superintendent told me, I just share it. If you don't want your email on the front page of the Washington Post, don't say it, because you don't know where that email is going to go. And you can't hear compassion in an email. You read an email that you sent to someone, you may meant it to come across one way, but based on how their day is going, what they're going through, what the person they just talked to said to them, they may interpret your email or even your text message totally to the left or the right of what your intentions were. I literally, and this was the most horrific thing I've ever experienced, I was being interviewed for a principal position. There might have been 6 people in the meeting. 4 of them had their cameras off. I felt so disrespected. I couldn't even focus on the question they were asking because I'm sitting there like, are you really telling me you're going to talk to me about a principal position where, as a principal, you're the CEO, I'm governing a $7 million budget, and you can't even turn your phone on an interview that you knew 2 weeks in advance? I felt so disrespected. And I'm sure, although I was doing everything I could to keep my face professional, it was very difficult because I felt totally disrespected. Maybe to them, that was okay. To me, that wasn't okay. I thought that was poor social skills. It was the highest level of unprofessionalism that I had seen, and it was totally disrespectful. I think another reason people like to communicate digitally because they can hide their emotions. You can put something in a text message totally devoid of emotion. But if I saw your face when you were sending me that text message, I might receive it differently. So I'm a dinosaur. If you text me, I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. Or next thing you know, I'm going to be at your house. Well, wait, I sent you a text message. I know. That's why I'm over here, so we can talk about it. Why didn't you text me back? Or I'm sitting at the table with teachers, and this is a true story. My phone goes off. I look down, and y'all know me. I don't use profanity. I'm not disrespectful, but I don't have a filter. And I go, excuse me, did you just send me a text message and I'm sitting right here at the table with you? And everybody cracked up laughing. And then I looked around, I said, wait, are all of y'all texting each other? And they were like, yeah. So I'm the only dinosaur at the table that wasn't sending text messages. I said, guys, let's put our phones away because this is ridiculous. We came out to spend time with each other. Let's have conversations. When my family comes to my house, we don't do cell phones. We put our phones away. And, sometimes the teenagers be trying to sneak to get to their phone. Don't you touch that phone. So that we can talk to each other. We can spend time with each other. If we don't do that, how do we develop a relationship? I don't know how to develop a relationship without communicating. I want to talk to you. I want to see your beautiful face. I don't want a text message. I don't want an email. And I love FaceTime. My children send me a message. I'm a FaceTime. Mom, you didn't respond to the text. I know. That's why we're doing a group video chat so I can see everybody's face. Mom, you're defeating the purpose of texting. I know. Because I am going to stay a dinosaur. I'm not going to change. I'm going to talk to you. I want to see your face and I want to be in your company. And I think because we've gone away from that, and Teresa, you hit a good point. When people come to interviews, I had a person come to an interview with shorts and a t-shirt on. I was appalled. But if we're not teaching that in the schools, or if we're not teaching our children that, I taught my son, I don't care if you're going on a job interview and you are going to be a custodian or you're going to pick up trash, you better have on a white shirt and a tie and dress pants. Well, Mom, it's not that kind of job. It's always that kind of job. But if we're not teaching that, we're losing that. So I'm going to be the dinosaur. I'm not going to become this digital diva. I refuse to become a digital diva. I'm going to call you and I'm going to say, let's go out and talk. Let's go out and have lunch and talk about it. And we're going to put our phones down. We're not going to look at our phones. Leave them in your purse. Matter of fact, turn them off so you won't even hear them buzz. Because if you hear them vibrate. They're looking down. Don't you go on that person, get that phone. I think we can change things. I'm going to be my dinosaur, and I'm going to get some more dinosaurs to go along with me, and we're going to make people start talking to each other again and spending time with each other. Because that's how we grow. That's how we learn each other.
Yeah,
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, it's so important. It's so important. I have a friend, and she's a few years older than I am. She is so far removed from digitalization. She does not go on Facebook at all. She does not go on LinkedIn. I don't think she knows what Instagram is. She sends handwritten thank you notes. She sends handwritten cards, which are lovely. And she takes the time to actually pick out a card for an occasion, but it suits you. It suits your personality, how she relates to you as a person. And she doesn't do
everybody
email.
Doesn't do that, because I do that.
Yeah. Well, how many e-cards do you get? I've rarely gotten anything through the mail. It's usually an e-card. People will send you an e-card for your birthday, or they'll just say happy birthday to you on Facebook. Sometimes that suffices. But, it's so nice that she's far removed from this. She doesn't do email. Her husband will do some of those things, but she said, I like to be personal with people, and I like to talk to people. And yeah, she'll occasionally text, but she'll always follow the text up with a phone call, which is nice also. So again, I think it all just boils down to respect. Do we respect each other enough to do a response, regardless of what it is, to actually socialize with people, or are we fitting it in between other things? What I don't like is if somebody says to me, if I say, okay, let's go out to lunch, or we haven't seen each other in a while, let's catch up. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, let's see, on Wednesday, I could fit you in between 12 and 2. No, I'm not going that way. If you can't take the time to spend time with me. And it took a while for this friend of mine to figure it out, because she was a high-powered person in a very high-powered position. And that's what she was used to. And I would say to her, but I'm not working for you. We're friends. And if you can't find the time to spend more than an hour with me, then we'll just do it when you actually have the time and the space, and we could sit down and talk. And we worked it out where when we would get together and talk. And that's what you're supposed to do. Not, well, I could fit you in between my hair, my nails, and then I've got to pick the kids up from school, and then I've got to do this with my grandkids. Well, okay, I've got a half an hour here that maybe we could get together. But maybe it's just easier if I send you a text and we could talk about it on the text. That'll be much easier, because I could just respond to your text, and then we don't have to worry about getting together or seeing each other at all. Lack of respect. We're coming to the close here. We've got about 6 minutes. So what are some final words, Nathaniel?
I think it's a difficult situation that we're in, and we can't just look at it from our perspective. Right? All of us here, we're baby boomers. We can have this conversation all day long, and we can be in agreement with each other. But we're looking at four generations now, 5 generations. Mm-hmm. And what's respectful in one generation may not be in another. What we did in our generation of picking up the phone, sending out thank you notes and cards for birthdays and special occasions, it worked for us. That was part of how we did things. These younger generations don't do that. We haven't taught them to do that. Mm. So they could just as easily flip the coin and say, gosh, you guys are being disrespectful to us. You do things the way you used to do it. but this is how things are happening right now. And you're not coming on board with how things are happening. And with each generation, that changes. So, you know, if you're a baby boomer, if you're a Gen Z, depends on what group you're in, is here's what our rules are. Here's what our engagement from a society standpoint is. So it's easy to look and go, for us to point the fingers at each other and go, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. But it's much more complicated because we're dealing with different generations, and with the way time is moving and the way that life is progressing, it's just moving too fast for us to keep up, right? So we want to do, as baby boomers, we want to do what we were taught that we believe is right and what's comfortable. The young person are going, hey, well, you know, we're doing what we do because that's what's right and what's comfortable for us. So there's got to become a meeting of the mind somewhere. So I just, you know, put that out there. And from an authentic standpoint, maybe these people think they are being authentic by doing it on the spot. Because we talked backstage, Teresa, and you said you were on a podcast or a show, and they didn't talk to you before the show. They put you on live. Well, maybe in their mindset, that's authentic. I want to get the real person. I don't want to have something where we rehearsed it. And I'm not saying one is right and the other is wrong. I'm just saying we got to look at there's many different perspectives.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think also, for me, I like to see that there's a resonance, you know, that energy between people. I just don't want to take a chance and put somebody on a podcast that I only know on paper, or I've seen a post or a couple things on social media, or they sound interesting. I want to know that they could deliver also, because there's nothing worse than if you're hosting a podcast and you want viewers to get somebody or a group of people on that can't perform in front of the camera, that have no idea what to do or don't know how to talk in front of the camera, because then everybody, you know, people turn you off right away. So there's also that aspect of it. Or do you get along with the person that you're talking to? You know, is there this conversation that you could have, or are you on one side of the spectrum and they're way on the other side of the spectrum? I got snagged one time during COVID. I had somebody and I knew them through a group. I didn't know them personally. And she said, oh, I want you to come on and talk about your work. And the work that I was doing, I still do it, holistic cardiology, was empowering people to take care of themselves. Well, okay, we didn't talk ahead of time. I knew her from the group. Get on the podcast. Oh my goodness. Actually, this was one of those TV on demand things. She wanted to talk about the COVID vaccine. And that's all she was interested in. Well, as a healthcare professional, I'm not getting involved with that bag of worms. And when I politely told her that, she had nothing else to talk about. So I was the only one talking about me during the podcast. It was 45 minutes. This person had nothing else to say. And when it was through, she said, oh, I thought that you were a person that agreed with what I thought about the COVID vaccine. If I would have known, I wouldn't have had you on. Well, you would have known, and I should have known to have a conversation ahead of time. But she thought she was doing the right thing. And with that, let's go to Jacqueline.
Oh, thank you. I want to piggyback on what Nathaniel said, because it was really critical. You know, let me say this. Access to one another is not the same as intimacy. And with the gaps in the generations, there is a way for us to integrate together. And it's a way for us to bring the level of respect. There's a way for us to bring the soft skills, but yet utilize the technology and not demonize the Gen X's, but then for them not to view us as dinosaurs, because one is not right and the other one is wrong, or the other one is right and we have to come together, and the learning and the patience. And again, this goes back to when you are actually, are you leading just from a robotic place, or are you leading from a place of humanness? And as the leaders, because even though we have Gen X leaders, we are still leaders as well. And so we have to really have a meeting of the minds, that there is an understanding on both sides, and we bring it all together and we integrate it so that one is not right and one is wrong, but that we are productive together. Because we live in a time where people do have constant access to one another, yet there's very little intimacy. There's very little, well, do I really know you well enough to understand how I want to communicate, or how you want me to communicate with you? And I think when we can start honoring that, and one not demonizing the other, I think that that's going to help. The other piece is communication has become very fast, but it's not always conscious. And so a lot of times we really need to look at, how do we frame things around intentionality? Many people have become reactive instead of reflective. All of this still ties into this fast-paced digital world that we're living in. But the strong relationships require us to be intentional, not just because we need to respond immediately, but we want to respond so that the other person understands and knows, what does it mean? What are we trying to accomplish? Now, all of these different qualities, that begins to bring in the emotional maturity that we talked about in the beginning. So I think whether in business, family, ministry, friendship, wherever you are, whatever the relationship, I think it's determined less by all of the platforms and all of the tools, versus where are we with emotional maturity. And to Nathaniel's point, when you're dealing with younger people, it's up to us to help them to have that emotional intelligence, to have that personal sovereignty about themselves, where they understand that there is a human aspect to this. And then it's on us to really understand, okay, now, how do we interact where, instead of there becoming a bigger divide, how do we bring ourselves closer together? How are we going to utilize our skills as leaders? And over decades, that doesn't mean that we should be put out to pasture, because we have something called wisdom that we can help to impart, and that will begin to help us move further along to bridge these gaps in this world that has truly become digitized, and bring back more of the relational intelligence in this digital world. Boundaries are not cold, but they are a sign of either maturity or immaturity, depending on how the boundary is being utilized. And I know boundaries are being set a lot by using technology and not communicating. Well, there's a way for us to come together and to really look at, what do we do so that we make ourselves more effective with working with each other, communicating with each other. And I think it's conversations like this that really help that. But on top of that, after this conversation, I think there has to be action. The next situation that comes up, what are we going to do in that situation? How are we going to respond? Are we going to respond and say, well, hey, that's just not for me, I'm not doing that? Or are we going to sort of begin to meet each other halfway? Dr. Derain, I am an email person. And I tell people the best way to communicate with me is through email, because I'm in my email all day. I'm not going to miss your message. If you text me, I mean, yeah, that's okay. But I don't know that I'm going to see people say, well, I sent you something on Messenger. Well, I'm in email. I'm working. I'm not going to be distracted where I'm looking at Messenger, text messages. Send me that email, because I have sort of given them that level of understanding of who I am. Then I'm understanding who they are. We sort of have a meeting of the minds. And at the same token, I'm helping them develop some skills that they may not have around communication, but they're not feeling demonized at the same time.
Thank you. Dr. D, last words here. We are running a little over time, but I think we need to, because it's a good conversation.
I kind of agree with Nathaniel, and I kind of agree with LuLu. However, what I feel my responsibility is, never, ever would I demonize or put anybody down for their communication skills, because what they've done with the digital world is, to me, it's like Star Trek. They boldly went where no man has gone before. And I respect them for that. But what I do is I try to set the example of, let us, like a dance, let us dance together. Let us come together. I turned my camera off because I wanted y'all to see all these boxes of cards that I have, that I send out. Thank you. Birthday. I think you're kind. I'm thinking of you. I still send my cards out. I am the person that when teachers give me gifts, I write a thank you card to every one of them. Not the ones where, you buy them and they have something inside. The ones where you have to find something inside. Just as an example, I was at a women's event and we made cards to give to the nursing home. And we actually put all the decorations and the little jewels and pearls on them, because we wanted to be more personalized. So they could see that I love you, I respect you enough. I have had box full of cards where I've gone to the Hallmark store and I picked cards and, oh, this is for so-and-so. I can't wait for their birthday to come up. Or I'm going to send this one to for Christmas. So yes, I'm the person that spends hours in the Hallmark store because I care enough to send the best.
So, thank you so much.
Although I'm a dinosaur, I still understand. Like LuLu, if you told me that's the way I need to communicate with you, I would send you an email, but then I would say, hey girl, can we talk?
Yeah,
give me a call when you get a chance. And so that's what I would say to get on my, to get where I feel more comfortable. But I have to exist within this world of digitalization. But I'm not going to jump all the way in. I'm going to hold the reins and I'm going to set an example. This is how we do it, and go from there.
It's a meeting of the minds, the meeting of the bridging.
Yes.
Dr. D, did you get that text I sent you while you were talking? I'm just teasing.
Because I didn't look at my phone.
I'm just teasing. I didn't send a text.
My phone isn't even near me. My phone's way in the kitchen and I'm in the office, so I don't even bother with that. Thank you so much, everyone. I think we had a really stimulating and inspirational conversation here. Yeah, there's so many generations. How do we really make all this work? How do we do that? I don't think it's easy, but I think it's definitely necessary.
And it's possible.
Yes,
and it's possible.
Yes.
And underneath it all, I think there's still, it all boils down to respect. So with that said, thank you everyone who has joined us this morning, and to those listening and watching, and to those who will listen and watch the replay. Thank you so much. And we will be on next week. And maybe we should continue this conversation. Let's see what goes on. Okay. And with that, I'm going to take us out.
I have